today I'd like to talk to you about the question of should you charge per hour or per project? I think this is a really great question and one that all freelancers are going to ask about and think about and figure out what works best for their clientele, for their process, and for their finances. There's really pros and cons to both scenarios, charging per hour or per project. And by that I mean, let's use an example of designing a postcard. I'm going to just throw out some rough numbers there. It's easier to talk about that way. Let's say if you were to charge per postcard, you would charge, say, $200 for the postcard. If you were to charge per hour, maybe your rate currently is $50 an hour. And so you're trying to figure out what's the best way to do that. I think when you're charging per hour, that works especially well for someone who is new to the freelance industry. You're going to start realizing, for example, if you're a graphic designer, you're not only handling the design now, you're handling all of the back and forth with the emails and everything else that goes into that beyond just the actual design of the project. So it's going to take longer than maybe what you've had at your regular jobs whenever you just were a designer, say, on a marketing team. And so starting out doing freelancing, charging per hour, I think is really insightful because it helps you see actually how much time do I really put into something like a postcard design. And that can help you later on down the road price it per project. In your freelance business, naturally, you should have a contract or talked up front, some sort of agreement with your client so you guys know what type of project you're doing. Let's continue with the postcard example. Is this a front and back postcard? Is it a single-sided postcard? Are you responsible for writing copy to know really how long is this going to take? And then you want to take into consideration revisions, right? So is there a count on revisions? Are you just adding that into your hourly project? So a lot of that type of stuff you're going to figure out up front. And I think that can also kind of help you decide which type of pricing works better for you. One of the negatives to doing per hour that I have found is that it can be a little bit of a challenge with the client. So say you're charging $50 an hour and you're doing that postcard design and it comes back and you're going to charge them $600. And they're going to say, well, you're charging $50 an hour. So you're telling me that it took 12 hours to do this postcard. So there could be a little bit of a challenge there to where you're going to have to explain why did it take you that many hours to do this. So you want to make sure that you have kept a really good detail as if you spent 12 hours on this, what were those 12 hours for? Perhaps this was a client that had a ton of revisions, and so 2/3 of that was just the revisions going back and forth. So make sure that if you're doing per hour, especially, that you have a good idea of what those hours were spent on if the client does inquire about that. On the other hand, charging per project, one thing that you want to be mindful of is, say you're doing a postcard design, but you've done postcard designs for 10 years. And so this is something that you're really comfortable with, something that you can do pretty fast because this is one of your key areas of expertise. So maybe you can do a postcard design in 3 hours. If you're charging $50 an hour, that really should only be about $150 for that project of your time. But in reality, the reason you can do it in 3 hours is because you've been doing this for 10 years. You can go really fast. You know what you're doing. You're an expert in this field. So for that reason, maybe having a set price, say of $200, is a lot more realistic because they're getting a designer that has the experience behind this. He can do it quickly, but can also do a really professional job. They're paying essentially for those years of experience to get someone who really knows what they're doing. So all in all, I would say they're both good pricing options, and I think you need to figure out for where you're at in your freelance journey, which one works better for you. Maybe try them both. See what was a better experience. Or perhaps maybe you figure out for certain clients doing the per hour works better, and for other clients charging per project works better. I know for me, the first couple years I was freelancing, I only did per hour, and that really helped me understand the process better. So that's usually what I recommend to new designers. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you about this. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I have new videos uploaded.